Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and today we have Tony Rovira. He's the Managing Director of Azure Minerals. The ASX code is AZS, and if you haven't heard about them, you sure should have. Why? Because, Tony, you and I spoke on the 13th of August this year, and at that time when we were speaking, we talked about your nickel project, Andover, over in WA. We spoke about how you thought that this was potentially going to be a very exciting project. I think your words were, this is a very exciting project. It was something that Mark Creasy said, look, I'm going to not gift you this project, but I'm going to come in with this project. And, you know, Mark Creasy knows his stuff as well as you do, because by way of background, you were the co-discoverer of Cosmos, which is a large nickel discovery. So there's a lot of exciting news at the moment. When I last spoke to you, your share price was 17 cents. It's now at 90 cents. That's a massive move up. That's why you've got this big smile on your face at the moment. Yes. But there's a lot of excitement around Azure Minerals at the moment. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today was, what is going on, Tony Rovira? I know you're excited. Tell us about what's going on over there.
Yeah, I am super excited. We have made a really significant nickel sulphide discovery at the Andover project. And we were very fortunate that Mark Creasy was able to vend the project into Azure Minerals. And so we have a joint venture with the Creasy Group now on this one. Azure owns 60% of the project and Creasy owns 40%. We started exploration there in August by doing some geophysical surveys, electromagnetic surveys. Which have identified numerous bedrock-hosted electromagnetic conductors, which are usually a good sign or an indication that there's sulphide mineralization in the ground. And we identified quite a few conductors, and we started drilling at the beginning of October, and we've completed 4 holes to date, and all 4 of those diamond core holes has hit massive nickel sulphide mineralization. So that has a success rate with 4 from 4. And I'm really confident that things are going to continue like that going forward. We've identified a body, a conductor body, that is over 1 kilometre long. It's 1,050 metres long. It's at least 200 metres from top to bottom, and we can't really see to the bottom, and it looks like it could continue to depth. So you're looking at a body that's 1,050 metres long, at least 200 metres tall, and we've put some holes into this already, and we've hit massive nickel sulphides exactly where predicted. So things are looking really positive at the moment, and we're just going to continue to drill and drill and drill. We've got 1 rig on site at the moment, but by January, we expect to have another 2 or 3 mobilised to site, and then we're just going to keep on drilling next year to define this new nickel deposit.
2 things you said there. One was you've drilled 4 holes and each one came back with massive nickel sulphide.
Correct.
Can you just be a little bit more specific there? And is it unusual to get 4 from 4?
Oh yes, it's. I'd say it's very unusual, and in part it's because the geologists that we've got working on the program are really good at their job, and particularly they're nickel experts. And they've targeted these holes to test the electromagnetic conductors, and each hole has hit the massive nickel sulphides exactly where predicted. So this success rate of 4 from 4 and hopefully soon 5 from 5 and 6 from 6 is, if that continues, then we are onto a seriously good nickel deposit here.
Can you compare it with anything that you've seen before? I mean, you've been in this business for quite a while, Tony. As I said earlier, you were the co-discoverer of Cosmos. Is this unusual? Because I know how excited you are. I just want to know, is this a bit unusual, this deposit?
No, actually, it's on the contrary. These are, if not common, they do exist elsewhere in Western Australia. Now, our Andover project is what is termed geologically a layered mafic ultramafic intrusion. So it's a big body of dark rocks that have been intruded into the crust. The other examples like that are some recent discoveries. For example, Chalice Gold Mines have got the Julimar deposit, which is a very nice looking nickel copper deposit, where they've had great success drilling there. And theirs geology is very similar to what we've got at Andover. An operating mine in rocks similar to ours is IGOs. IGO has the Nova Bollinger nickel and copper mine in the Fraser Range.
Yep.
Now, that would be the one that I would aim to be most like. That's a large and high-grade nickel deposit. The geology of our Andover project is very similar to the geology of the Nova Bollinger deposit. Our challenge, our objective, is to drill until we've got a project, our deposit is as big as theirs.
What are we looking at when you say when you start drilling like that? Because you said you've got one drill rig at the moment on there, a couple more drill rigs coming in January. Are you going hard at this? Are you saying, look, this is our focus. We're going to go hard. We're going to bring the drill. My mother would kill me. Going to bring the drill rigs in and go hard. So just if you could explain a little bit to our listeners.
Certainly. Well, we started off drilling in the beginning of October, and we've just got the one drill rig because we wanted to. Firstly, you have to make the discovery, and then we have to be certain that it has the potential to be a substantial size. And I think we've already demonstrated that. So we will continue with one rig for the rest of this year, but it's important that we accelerate the exploration and the drilling into next year. So we will be mobilising a second and a third and maybe even more drill rigs going forward. And so I would anticipate that we will be drilling with multiple drill rigs for probably at least the first half of next year and maybe longer. And this is going to be a very large program, and it's going to be intense. A lot of drilling which will be ongoing, which means that we'll be building our team. Our team of geologists is going to be rapidly increasing as well, and then it's just full steam ahead. And that's really on one target. That's just the one.
Yeah.
On this property, there are another 10 targets that have not been drilled, which look the same.
Tony, just if I could interrupt you on that one, because this is a 70 square kilometre tenement that you've got. Do you think Mark Creasy, what's the history of this? Had Mark Creasy held it for a long time? Do you think even Mark knew what he had when he said, let's do this joint venture? Or is he sitting back now saying, God damn it?
Yeah, well, certainly Mark Creasy has held this since the early 2000s, and he's carried out some good exploration on an occasional basis. So in 2008, he did a geophysical survey. 2012, did some more geophysics. And then in 2018, he did some drilling. And he found a few sniffs of nickel sulphide mineralization in a couple of the drill holes. But all of that was, from our point of view, we had the ability to dive deeply into the data and to recognise that there was great potential on the property. Now, when Mark hit his original nickel sulphide mineralisation in the drilling in 2018, at the same time he was drilling another project down near Norseman in southern Western Australia called Silver Knight. And that had a really strong nickel sulphide intersection at exactly the same time as he was drilling at Andover. And he had to make a decision. You know, he had two projects. He believed one had greater merit than the other. And so he went with Silver Knight and has been busy drilling there for the last couple of years. And Andover was put back on the shelf. So when I approached Mark and asked him if he had any projects that he would consider vending into Azure Minerals, he said, oh, Tony, well, knowing your history with the discovery of Cosmos nickel deposit and your love of nickel exploration, how about you take on the Andover project? And I've already had some small success there, and let's see if you can continue on from that. Well, I'd have to say, you know, our success rate the volume of our successes has increased astronomically. And as I said, the first 4 holes have all hit really high grade, massive nickel sulfides, and it's a fantastic new discovery.
Let's talk about those grades, if you wouldn't mind just sharing some of those grades and why they're exciting. I mean, are they unusually high? Because you said before, massive sulfide.
Yes, they're not unusually high. They're typical of these styles of deposits. So if you're looking at, say, the Nova Bollinger nickel mine down near Norseman, which IGO is operating, their average head grade is about 2.2% nickel. And that's a good grade for an underground mine. Mm-hmm. So what we've been hitting in our massive sulfides is all between 2 and maybe 3.5 to 4%. So I think ours would probably average out around in the high 2s or low 3%. So yeah, good grades and very exciting.
What is it about nickel Tony, because you've been, what is it about nickel? Because at the moment, we all know everybody's loving the gold story. Everyone's getting terribly excited. But what is it about nickel and its future that you think is so exciting?
Well, obviously, nickel is a very industrial metal, and over 70% of nickel is used to make stainless steel. There's only a very small component that of the annual nickel production that is being used in batteries. But that is actually growing quite quickly, as we all know, with the electric vehicles and battery storage for power. And the amount of nickel being used in the batteries is increasing quickly. So the nickel price is going up because there's not a commensurate increase in the amount of nickel that's being produced. So the actual price of nickel is going up because there's greater demand for it now. And so one of the best sorts of nickel you can find is nickel sulphide deposits, because they produce a very clean nickel concentrate without any contaminant metals. And it's relatively cheap, is not the right word, but it's less expensive to produce nickel from a nickel sulphide deposit than it is from a nickel laterite deposit. So if you get onto a good nickel sulphide deposit, which is what I believe we have going here at Andover, then the product that you make is highly sought after.
Now, Nova Bollinger, thank you for that. That's actually really good for my understanding. But Nova Bollinger, it's a nickel copper, isn't it? Do you think you've
Correct.
Do you think you've got some copper here on the Andover project?
We do. It looks to me like we have it's both nickel and copper, but it's probably 3 nickel to 1 copper. So there's a greater percentage of nickel in there than there is of copper. So, but we definitely have copper in there too.
Do you think is that good, bad, or it doesn't really matter?
Very good, because it's great, because you get a credit for that when you sell the final concentrate product.
Right.
You're selling it to a nickel smelter, and
Yep.
they extract the copper from the nickel, and then they can sell that separately. So you actually do get paid for both the nickel and the copper, and it certainly adds to the value of the project.
Now, there will be people listening that said, damn it, I should have listened to the first one back in August and hopped on this very exciting train that's happening. Do you think the train's left the station? Share price is very strong at the moment, sitting at today, as we speak, at 90 cents. Or do you think, Kerry, we haven't even got started?
Well, I'll take your last point, Kerry. We haven't even got started.
Okay.
I'm really confident that this is actually going to go. Well, the company and the share price is going to rise a long way. The more drilling we do, the more nickel we find, the more valuable the project becomes, the more valuable the company will become. I think there's a long way to go yet in this story. Not only are we busy drilling on the Andover deposit as we know it at the moment, but we've got all these other targets that are untested. The sky's the limit on this project, and I think the sky's the limit on Azure Minerals as well.
Speaking of which, what about funding? Do you need to go out to the market and do a capital raise? Are you well funded for the moment?
Well, we're well funded right at the moment, but you can never have too much money. So, and also because of the results we've been getting recently, we've been getting a lot of interest from various investment funds who would like to come on board as shareholders. Yep. So we are talking to some of those at the moment, and we'll just see how things pan out with our exploration, with our drilling results, and our need for further capital.
It would be remiss of me not to ask, do you think some of the bigger boys might be starting to sniff around and look at what Azure are doing and try and get in there?
Yes.
That's all you're going to say.
Yes, we've had some of the bigger boys reach out to us and want to talk to us, but it's far too early to get into that scenario. You look at some of the really great success stories. For example, Jubilee Mines, going from a 20 million market cap to being taken over by Xstrata for over $3 billion.
Yeah.
Sirius, when they found Nova Bollinger, went from a penny dreadful to being taken over for 1.8 billion by IGO. Yeah. So if you can get yourself a really good nickel deposit and you can progress it and advance it quickly enough, then it will get to the stage where one of the big boys who is really interested might come in and decide to take it on, in which case that's good for all shareholders.
And I was going to say, what would you say to current shareholders and those that are not yet shareholders that are listening to you today, just as we finish up this chat?
Well, if you like the story, then come along for the ride.
And you think that there's still a lot more in this ride yet. And I said that was the final one. One more. Tony, is this the best feeling for you in your career? You've been around for a while. I know you were the co-discoverer of Cosmos, but does this beat that?
Well, that'd be hard to say. Discovering Cosmos that was a real high. But this is at least equal to it. And I think that the more holes we drill here, the bigger and better this project gets. The happier I'm going to be, the more excited I'll be. And as an exploration geologist, to make discoveries it's very rare. And when you do make a good discovery, it's just it's an incredible feeling.
When you do make a good discovery, you have a beer or two, I hope, at some point.
Yes, we will.
And celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Tony Rovira, Managing Director of Azure Resources. And as I said at the start, the ASX code, if you haven't already figured it out, is AZS. Tony Rovira, thanks for chatting with Small Caps today.
Thank you, Kerry. It's a pleasure.